Yeah, so hi everyone. Welcome back to the Pandemic podcast. I'm your host, DJ Dr. Price, and today I have a special guest for you. He's a very hard man to find, but you know what I do, eh? So, with me here is a clinician, a HIV expert, a mentor, and also a researcher in matters HIV and AIDS. So he goes by the name Julius Kisio, and I'm with him today to talk about a few things about HIV awareness and also matters prevention and also care and treatment. So he's going to tackle a little bit of the numbers, the trends, and the emerging issues in matters HIV. So, Mr. Kisio,
Thank you very much for hosting me.
welcome.
Uh,
Yes, so you can tell us a little bit about what we need to know about HIV,
okay.
at least for our viewers to get a gist of what we're talking about.
Yeah, HIV has been with us for quite some times. The first case globally was diagnosed in around 1980s, 84 there. And in our country, the first HIV case was diagnosed in 1984. Globally, in the US, there was a strange illness among men who are having sex with men. They came with a strange illness which later turned out to be HIV positive. And the HIV spread like wildfire throughout the entire continent and even globally. And 40 years later, we still don't have a cure, but there has been tremendous progress in terms of research, in terms of medication, in terms of even delivery of drugs. Very soon, even in our country, we're going to adopt injectable drugs.
Okay.
So we have a lot to know and to learn. I believe sometimes we assume that people are aware about HIV. That's why it's important always to remind ourselves on issues about HIV, how one gets infected, how one is supposed to be attended to, the kind of care they are supposed to receive once they test HIV positive. And one thing I can assure your audience and those who are watching us is that HIV is not a death sentence. I usually tell people it's a chronic, manageable disease like any other disease. So the unique thing with HIV is because it's sometimes quote unquote it's associated with one being immoral, but that's not the case. We have a lot of promiscuous people who are not HIV positive.
Yeah.
And again, we have people who sometimes, in one way or another, unfortunately got infected. We also have a generation of young boys and girls, they are now young men and women, who unfortunately got infected through what we call mother-to-child transmission. So it's not anyone's fault to be HIV positive.
Sure.
But we'll talk also about issues of preventing HIV. Yeah, so thank you very much, and I believe this is just the beginning of this conversation.
That is actually very informative.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of issues around HIV, and the issue of association with promiscuity or immorality has always been there.
Yeah,
But now, like you said, we have a whole generation of young people who are living with HIV, and they have no history of exposure to those kind of activities.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot we need to learn as the community, as the people out here, to realize that the burden of HIV affects like everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in terms of numbers, currently in our country, Kenya, we have around 1.4 million people living with HIV. That's quite a sizable population.
Yeah, sure.
But what is worrying is that the new HIV infections that we are currently seeing in our facilities stems from 15 to 24 years of age.
Wow.
So these are energetic young men and young girls who are in high school and others in higher education in our universities, in our colleges. These are the ones that are fueling the new HIV infection. And as a matter of urgency, we need to reach out to this population to make them aware, to bring awareness of how they ought to live, how they ought to prevent themselves from being infected. Remember, once you turn HIV positive, there is no way you will ever turn negative unless a miracle happens, and miracles are very rare. Yeah. That's why it's called a miracle. Mm-hmm. So you will live the rest of your life
HIV positive.
HIV positive and on drugs. So if you are HIV negative, ensure you remain negative at all costs. But unfortunately, if you are HIV positive, again, as I said earlier, it's not the end of life. We have life-saving antiretroviral medication, we commonly called as ARVs, that are accessible. Currently, they are supplied free of charge in our public health facilities, and you can access them. And we will follow you up. We'll give you all the necessary information that you need to ensure that you are successfully managed and you live a normal, productive life like any other person who is HIV negative.
Okay, so now there's something you mentioned about those contributing to the new HIV infection.
Yes.
That a bigger percentage is our young population.
Exactly.
Between, you said 15 to
24.
15 to 24.
Yes.
So why is it so? Why that? How is that group unique to this new HIV infection?
Okay, from my own observation, this is the age when most of these young boys and girls are discovering themselves. They are very energetic. Sometimes they have been let off from their household nests, from their families, the watchful eyes of their parents, so they are free out there. And during this experimenting and exploring, unfortunately, they get infected. And another trend we have noted in our country is that these young boys and girls move with older population. We've heard of Mubabas,
the sponsors,
the
sponsors, the sponsor generation.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that's some of the issues that fuels HIV, this infection among this population. And when you're moving with someone who is so mature than you, sometimes you're unable to negotiate even for safer sex.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, and you may end up being infected, which could not have been your wish. But because sometimes these sponios take care of your bills, so they have much authority over you and much control. And unfortunately, if they are HIV positive and they refuse to safe sex, you may get infected. But we will empower you because we have ways, not only correct and consistent use of condoms, we have drugs that if you feel you are at an ongoing risk of being infected with HIV, you can take to prevent yourself from being infected with HIV. That's why we need information out there.
Yeah.
We need to give information, especially targeting our young institution.
Young people.
Me, I'm a champion of abstinence and being faithful to one partner who's HIV status, but because of the prevailing circumstance, abstinence may not be an option. But for those who have not yet engaged in any kind of sexual activity, delay sex. Actually say delay your sexual debut. Your first time you engage in sexual activities. Wait until that age you are mature, you get the right partner, you can make informed decisions.
Sure.
But because it may not be applicable to everyone, if you have a partner, ensure you go get tested together, confirm each other's HIV status. If you are HIV negative, remain faithful to one another. So the other way, of course, is correct and consistently use of condoms. When condoms are used correctly and consistently, they not only protect against HIV, it's a form of also family planning method, unwanted pregnancy, and other forms of other sexually transmitted infections. You've heard in Nairobi of recent past the super gonorrhea, the super G.
The famous super G.
The famous super G. So if you